denies all the allegations against him. He has done consistently and does, as far as we are aware, until this day. However, Buckingham Palace has considered that there have been serious lapses of judgment. What do you make of the wording they've used?
Well, I think the evidence against Andrew is pretty overwhelming. I mean, not just in my book, but elsewhere. But we've got to remember that Andrew has been protected by the palace and enabled for many years. The palace tried to shut down an investigation into him and Virginia Giuffre years before the story broke by ABC television. And they basically threatened them and said, if you run this investigation, we will never give you access to members of the royal family. So I think this is part of a wider problem. They've thrown him under the bus to save themselves. But I think there's still a lot of questions that are going to be asked. And I think it has opened up the question of the accountability and transparency of the royal family. And I think people will be beginning to ask questions, for example, about the leases paid by other members of the royal family. I think what's happened here is Beatrice and Eugenie have been saved in a deal but pushing their father out. But they both have flats at Kensington Palace, St James's Palace. And I think people will be asking questions why non-working royals have these privileges.
Yeah, but of course, to be clear, that they have nothing to do with anything that's, that's involving their father. Can we just talk about what finally pushed the royal family to this point? The King and Queen, their Majesties, this joint statement very much signalling that the King and the Queen are on the same page about this. The Queen, of course, a champion for campaigning for women and against domestic abuse. We saw the King heckled outside Lichfield Cathedral this week in Staffordshire, and it said that behind the scenes, Prince William, he gave an interview recently as part of a documentary series for Disney saying that, when he eventually becomes king, there will be big changes. So how much do you think Prince William and what has happened to the King in recent weeks, that heckling, played a part in what we see today? Talk to us about the weeks leading up to this decision.
Well, I think the main factor was...
This basically, they were talking about Epstein. You got Prince Andrew. Now, I can't remember exactly if he's a cousin to the Queen. I thought something like that. But he was all up in the Epstein stuff. You got Trump was up on that. This stuff keeps coming up. It disappeared with Trump, but it just keeps coming up. That's because that's how they get down. What that is Illuminati, Babylonian rituals that they're doing. Sacrificing children, popping little children, do all sorts of shit. Okay.
Involved in the Jeffrey Epstein case, trying to get justice for that group of survivors, that Prince Andrew should, face formal questioning, talk to authorities, police, whether it be here in the UK or in the United States. Is that a realistic prospect?
Absolutely. I think that is the next stage. He is a material witness, as is Sarah Ferguson, to what went on in Epstein's world. He has consistently refused to cooperate with the lawyers or indeed any law enforcement agencies, and I think he needs to do that. I think we need a proper statement from him about his involvement with Epstein. I think we also need a parliamentary investigation into his time as trade envoy. Though everyone has been focused on his sexual misdemeanors, my own concern is the financial corruption that was he took part in as this trade envoy. So I don't think the story is over. There are many more questions still to be answered. But
you got people that can't be touched, like you got the Rothschilds, Rockefellers elite, and the royal family are part of that. They got people that can't be touched. That's why they weren't touching him. And the Lord's really made all this come out because of Isaiah 47. Everything's on the open right now. What's really going on? That's what, before this world ends, it gets exposed. That's the Lord shall consume them with the spirit of his mouth. Also, the word shall be taught in the four corners of the planet. Then the end shall come. These are all prophecies. That's why all this is taking place.
What turns up, I think it would be unwise of the royal family to link themselves to him. He is, as I say, very toxic and damaging the reputation of the monarchy, and so they're best keeping as far away from him as they can.
Andrew Lowney, the author of The Rise and Fall of the House of York, really good of you.
They've all been getting down like that. He's just got all pictures of him caught red-handed. You know what I'm saying? But you know, there's all accounts of all sorts of different things, man. With the Queen, she must have went to Africa, right, one time, and they were saying that the whole school, the kids went missing.
Has to date provided him with legal protection to continue in residence. Formal notice has now been served to surrender the lease, and he will move to alternative private accommodation. These censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. Their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Well, Sky's Molly Malone joins me now for more on this. And Molly, just a reminder there of the statement, as I was just reflecting with my guests there, the royal family have come under a huge amount of criticism over recent months, indeed years, for being slow to act, in fact, act at all when it comes to Prince Andrew. But we've got a pretty decisive bit of action this evening.
Yeah, decisive and quick. I think it all came at speed this evening, and this has been, as we know, weeks and weeks now, months even, as you say, of controversy, of accusations and allegations surrounding Andrew's connections with the late convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. And two important things have happened quite quickly, immediate effect. Essentially, he'll become an ordinary person in terms of his titles, though clearly a brother of the king, and also he'll leave Royal Lodge as soon as we understand as practically possible. He'll go instead to Sandringham, the royal estate in Norfolk. We know that he gave up his Duke of York.
So did she just say that he's going to leave Royal Lodge and go to another Sandringham castle? I mean, come on, man. This is and this is how, you know. And look, man, when you read, I'm gonna get about not passing the scripture that says about you had Babylonian, you had ancient world sacrifices of children. Like, you know, you got the Wicker Man, that movie, and I think they filmed that in Scotland or some shit like that, right? So, but that's what they get. That's how they get down. Druid rituals. Druids, Celts were doing that over in England. They're doing those style rituals as well.
I think the palace will be conscious of trying not to take up too much parliamentary time to deal, you know, as they see it, with urgent national issues, and instead allowing Parliament to do that. Now, just to remind people about what's been alleged, this for so long now has been about Andrew's connections with Jeffrey Epstein, the late convicted paedophile. He's always denied any wrongdoing, but the allegations have continued to mount up. In fact, we saw a photo earlier this week of Harvey Weinstein, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein all being hosted at Windsor Lodge for Princess Beatrice's 18th birthday, and that was 2 months after the US arrest warrant came for Jeffrey Epstein. And of course, the palace have been keen to emphasise this evening the importance of considering the victims in all of this. Virginia Giuffre, the palace, keen to, you know, as I say, make sure that they're focusing and their decisions have come on behalf of the victims. We've, of course, had...
So y'all think that, I'm going to have to cut this off because I could just watch this video. So y'all think that they don't, the other roles, they just don't know what's going on? And they're just oblivious and, what have you done? And y'all are simple, man. The scripture, man, man, there's so much. The scripture says it's a high time to wake us out of sleep. All right.
This evening, thank you for the moment. We've been getting political reaction to the announcement that came from Buckingham Palace earlier on this evening. We've had this from the Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Ed Davey. Liberal Democrats wanted to debate this issue in the Houses of Parliament. He has said the King is absolutely right to strip Prince Andrew of both his titles and his residence at the Royal Lodge. It's clear that Andrew's position had become totally untenable, having disgraced his office and embarrassed the country. This is an important step towards rebuilding trust in our institutions and drawing a line under this whole sorry saga.
Yeah, and you know, there's a shameful spewing. You know, and those scriptures is Babylon, America, and stuff like that. But you know, it goes for the mother as well, the beast system, and it goes for the mother of Babylon. Sorry, the mother of Babylon the Great, which is the UK, which is still controlling it actually, because it's a corporation through the Rothschilds, Rockefellers.
Lord, a reference there to Lord Peter Mandelson, the former UK trade envoy to the United States, being an associate of Jeffrey Epstein, which ultimately ended in him losing that role. Oh, well, let's get more with our chief political correspondent.
Has actually risen for the weekend. But yes, we're getting reaction from party leaders. Nothing from the Prime Minister yet, who obviously will have had talks with the King about this. We know that the Prime Minister had an audience with the King on Tuesday evening. That was all in the court circular.
So you're just going to get a script and told what to say.
When it took place. But we've heard from, yes indeed, Sir Ed Davey was the first. Sir Ed Davey, a week or two ago in Prime Minister's Questions, urged the Prime Minister to back a parliamentary inquiry, not so much a full debate on the floor of the House, but an inquiry by the Public Accounts Committee into the whole finances of Royal Lodge and the Crown Estate and so on. And this week, the MP who chairs the Public Accounts Committee, which is Parliament's leading spending watchdog, Geoffrey Clifton Brown, has written to the Crown Estate asking for all sorts of information about the finances of Royal Lodge and so on. So that obviously is the move towards setting up an inquiry in Parliament. The Public Accounts Committee, one of Parliament's most powerful committees, chaired by the Tory Geoffrey Clifton Brown. Let me bring you some reaction from Kemi Badenoch. She's been on a radio programme this evening, was asked about this. She said that being Leader of the Opposition is short for being His Majesty's Leader of the Opposition. She said she'd been following the story more as a family. It's a very sad state of affairs. She said the King has clearly felt this is the right decision for the royal family. Must have been a very difficult thing for him to have done. I mean, having to do that to your own brother. She says, this is Kemi Badenoch, the standards and expectations in society now are very high. People expect to see the very highest levels of integrity. I'm afraid the whole Jeffrey Epstein saga and everybody it has touched, from Prince Andrew to Peter Mandelson, has shown the public has no truck whatsoever with any kind of sexual abuse or offences, especially when minors, and I think that's quite right. So Kemi Badenoch there, a bit of sympathy for the family, really, the royal family. She obviously will have the occasional audience with the King, no doubt, as Leader of the Opposition, obviously not a regular weekly one like the Prime Minister. But the Prime Minister clearly will have been closely involved in these discussions, and it was a few weeks ago that when Sir Ed Davey asked that question.
All right, man. Because this is going to keep going on. I'm going to cut this. But you're seeing what's going on here.
And the Prime Minister said he was happy for a parliamentary inquiry into the Royal Lodge and Crown Estate finances. It was the day after he'd had an audience with the King, and MPs believe that clearly they discussed that, and the King had given his blessing for that.
But this just shows you what they're all about, and they're gonna, we didn't know how, or whatever they're saying. It's all BS, man. Let's get this Isaiah. Okay, 47, and it just shows you what where we're at in these prophecies, and what reality really is, and where you really are, man. You thought this was a good place, and you're just gonna live. This was gonna go on forever. Hell no. And those are top elites. They're trying to get you chipped anyway. They want you controlled so they can do all that Babylonian Satanism anyway. Isaiah 47:1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. The shame's being seen, man. These elites, all these top people, what they're really all about is all It's all on Front Street. It's all out on the show. It's all out on the strip. Says, I will take vengeance. I will not meet thee as a man. The Lord's coming back in the chariots to clean all this up. Now let's do this. Let's go here. I want to try to get this. You got to spell this right. Molech. You got to spell. Excuse me. Spell it right. How did I spell that? Molech, Malach or Molech. Leviticus 18:21, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy power. I am the Lord. So you got people that actually do that, and it tells you that there was nations that would sacrifice kids and do high satanic rituals with kids. Okay, and that's just how they get down. Let's see if I can. You got the scripture talks about the odious works of witchcraft. Let's see if I can. If I can find that. My spelling ain't the best, bro. Let's see. Okay. Let's do this. Because this is what they, and it's been said that they've done this. You know what I'm saying? And you say it, but you look crazy. 1 Samuel 15:23, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Aleister Crowley, do as thou wilt. That's rebellion right there. And stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry, because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord. And a lot of people live off rejecting the truth. We've got 2 Chronicles 33:6, and he caused his children to pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hanan. Also he observed times and used enchantments and used witchcraft, and that with a familiar spirit and with wizards, and he wrought much evil in the sight of the Lord. So even right there is the left-hand path, is what these elites get into, right? And I would show you the, you know, let's do it. We can come, well, this will disappear, but it's all good, because I've got loads of tabs open anyway, so it is what it is. Let's type in Molech. Molech, you see, you spell it different, is a word which appears in the Hebrew Bible several times, primarily in the book of Leviticus. So they had a deity that they were doing satanic witchcraft to. Okay, and that's what they do. They sacrifice to different gods. You got the Wicker Man. You got that show, the Wicker Man, you know what I'm saying? So that's what's going on. So it's part of satanic witchcraft on the left-hand path. Spells, left-hand, all sorts of shit. You know, we just read the scripture that went into that. So it's all out there what these top elites are doing. And that's the Lord that's done that. You can't say, oh, no, I don't believe. It's because it's out there now. What you going to say? Let me end on this, man. I think it's 2 Thessalonians or 1 Thessalonians. Okay, 2 Thessalonians 2. And 8, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord power shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So, with exposing them, then the Lord's going to destroy them with them chariots, all right? World War III, stuff like that. So, this is where we're at. This is the time we're in. So with that, I'm going to say shalom.